I'm out here sitting amongst the grass in the forbs today to introduce a plant many of you are probably familiar with, especially if you are practicing no-mow or minimal mowing of your yard, like a good backyard ecologist. These white daisy-like flowers that seem to pop up everywhere if you give them the chance to. While they look like little daisies, they aren't true daisies, so what are they? Are they good or bad? Native or invasive? And what the heck are they called if they aren't daisies? I'm going to answer all of those questions right now, starting off with, these little flowers belong to the genus Erigeron and have the unusual common name of Fleabane. The daisy-like Fleabanes belong to the largest flowering plant family, the Asteraceae, which is often called the daisy family. So you might be thinking, why aren't Fleabanes daisies? Well, there are a ton of plants in the Asteraceae, somewhere in the neighborhood of 24,000 species, many of which don't have daisy-looking flowers, like the goldenrod, for instance. There are also many that do have flowers that resemble daisies, but aren't true daisies, like the fall asters and the Fleabanes. The true daisies are in the genus Bellis, which is not native to North America. That was a whole lot of plant nerd speak to say Fleabanes are closely related to true daisies, but aren't in fact true daisies themselves. The genus Erigeron is quite large with over 200 species, and there are around 12 species of Fleabane native to eastern North America, and at least one Fleabane species can be found in every eastern state and Canadian province. And there are even more species than that out west. If you would like me to go into more detail about individual species in a future video, just let me know down in the comments. Erigeron isn't just found in North America and is distributed worldwide, including Europe, which brings us to how it got its unusual name. The name Fleabane comes from Old English and was used to describe what these plants were used for in the past. Fleabane was gathered and dried, or it was planted in a pot outside the door to a house for the purpose of repelling fleas, flies, and other insect pests. At least that's what people at the time thought Fleabane was useful for, along with it being used in exorcisms and made into tea or poultices for treating a wide range of ailments. Research into the insect repelling qualities of Fleabane have shown it has zero repellent effect on six-legged critters, including the fleas it was named after. Fleabane has also never been shown to have any medicinal effect on the ailments it was meant to treat, or any power in casting out demons. Everyone these days knows you need wisteria for that. Leave a comment if you know what I'm talking about. If you sit and watch a patch of blooming Fleabane, you must wonder how people back in the day ever thought this plant repels insects, because Fleabane attracts a ton of small pollinators with its flowers and a multitude of other insects that come to dine on its sap and foliage. The flowers are attractive to a wide assortment of smaller native bees, honeybees, and smaller butterflies like blues and hair streaks. And even some mid-sized Lepidoptera like the silver-spotted skippers I often see visiting Fleabane in my yard. The foliage is used as a host plant by many caterpillar species that feed on plants in the Asteraceae, including those of the northern metalmark and the lynx flower moth. Rabbits and woodchucks also find the leaves and flower stalks tasty, and it is a moderately to highly selected browse for deer. The critters browse it often in our yard, but Fleabane tends to take browsing extremely well. A ton of non-pollinator insects also find the flowers and foliage irresistible. And Fleabane often has insects ranging in size from aphids to grasshoppers feeding on it. All those bugs draw predatory insects like lacewings, spiders that like to sit on the flowers and ambush prey, and insectivorous birds such as the eastern phoebe, which I often see and hear hunting over patches of Fleabane. And I have even witnessed hummingbirds fly-catching gnats that had gathered around a Fleabane patch. Game birds can benefit from Fleabane too, as it provides decent brood cover for wild turkey and northern bobwhite poults, and all those bugs, especially grasshoppers, are just the kind of fuel those baby birds need to grow. If you love learning about native plants that may be living in your yard that support a wide range of pollinators and wildlife, think of that like button as a nice juicy Fleabane stalk, channel your inner woodchuck, and take a nip out of it. The Fleabanes are a rather diverse group of plants, and there are annuals, biennials, and perennials within it. They also can have a very diverse bloom color. Most are white with a yellow center, but can range from pinkish to even purple, sometimes even within the same species, and even on the same plant. There are even yellow flowered species, but they are mostly found out west. More than one species will commonly grow within a small area, and since they all look rather like each other, it can be tough to tell them apart. Much of Fleabane identification comes down to counting the ray flowers. Those things that look like petals are actually individual flowers. There are also disc flowers. All those bumps in the middle of what we think of as a flower are individual flowers too. This is why the Asteraceae is also known as the composite family, since their large flowers are actually composites created of many individual smaller flowers. Even though some plants can be tough to identify, it's still fun to identify them and know what's growing on your property. To ID plants well, you need a good field guide or a botanical app. There are a ton of them out there, and choosing one can be hard. So on the Backyard Ecology website, we have put together a list of recommendations of our favorite field guides. For everything from flowering plants to trees and shrubs, to birds, butterflies, reptiles, and even fireflies. We have even included our favorite nature-related apps and equipment that we use when doing habitat work around the farm. We thought this would be a great way to let people know what books, apps, and tools we use here at Backyard Ecology when working on our habitat projects around our property. I will put a link to it in the description, and while you're at our website, be sure to sign up for our newsletter so that you can stay in touch with Backyard Ecology news and upcoming events. So are the Fleabanes good or bad to have in your pollinator garden or other areas you are managing for pollinators and wildlife? Well, and here comes the wildlife biologist favorite answer: it depends. Now before all of you go crazy typing comments about how biologists are always hedging their bets with a "it depends" answer, let me explain. It all depends on your planting location, your goals, and your personal taste. If you live someplace with strict guidelines as to what your flower gardens can look like, or if you just prefer a more formal look, then Fleabane is probably not for you. On the other hand, if you prefer to not mow your lawn, or if you prefer to have your pollinator garden look a little wilder, or you are managing a larger chunk of land, Fleabane may be the perfect fit. I never actually plant it, as there is little need to. Fleabane is a pioneer species, and any disturbance will encourage it, which is why it tends to pop up in lawns and flower beds. Once established, it is a very hardy plant and will put on a good floral show and attract a ton of pollinators and birds. If the deer and rabbits nibble a few, it's not a big deal, and the Fleabane will bounce right back from it. Fleabane is one of those native plants that is so common and easy to propagate, it tends to get dismissed, which is a shame because it does have a lot to offer. I consider it a vital component in all areas we manage with frequent disturbance on our farm and in our minimal mow lawn. There are many awesome common native plants that get the same kind of treatment from people. One group of them that are vital host plants and support a specialist native bee are our beautiful and underappreciated native violets, which you can learn all about in this video, and be sure to get out and explore nature in your backyard.